All right. Welcome. Thank you all so much for coming to the Q&A for Asian Solidarity and Action Project, or ASAP. I've had a few different questions come in, so I'll be answering some of those today, but also just wanted to give y'all a chance to ask me questions. I'm going to be going over some of the basics of the program, but also a little bit more background than maybe what's on the page. So again, going to give an overview. I'll also be going over the application process and maybe some things to keep in mind while you're thinking through your application, thinking through your proposal. We'll have some space for questions. And a new addition this year that we didn't have last year was we will be asking for a really loose budget. It doesn't need to be anything super, super extensive, but I wanted to go over that because I didn't want that to be a barrier to the application process. And I realized I didn't really introduce myself. My name is Fian. I am the head of community engagement at NCAAT. And this has been a really, really fun project to launch. We did the first pilot run last year, and we are growing the program and excited to bring some new changes to it as well. So what is ASAP? It is a 5-month cohort program. So we're going to be going from about the end of March to around early to mid-September. The goal of this program came about, we really wanted to provide education and resources, but we do recognize that as a nonprofit, we can't do everything and we shouldn't be doing everything. I think that any kind of effort to uplift community and work with community should be done. The community members know best what they need. And that's kind of the premise of this program, was taking our resources, taking what we have, and just supporting folks who already have their own ideas, already know what is needed out there. And so we're really hoping to help provide a platform, provide project planning support, that kind of thing, especially to projects that mobilize community members around relevant issues, and offer support that's needed. So this is what you can expect from being a part of the cohort. You'll get a $4,000 stipend given out in increments throughout the 5 months. Cohort members will also, as I alluded to, receive project planning support. That is going to look like staff members coming through and guiding through the planning process. Kind of what are some of the things maybe you can think about while you're planning out the project. You'll also have access to the tools that NCAAT has, whether it's software that we've got. You'll be able to share messages to our network. We'll be able to connect you with folks, as well as some leadership development and political education that'll be going on throughout the cohort meetings. I think that something really special about this program, beyond just getting some funds, is the ability to really connect with other people who are doing projects in North Carolina, with other community members, with our volunteer network, everything like that. You'll be meeting staff members throughout the time. And finally, we also recognize that as a nonprofit that does the work that we do, we also don't know everything. Maybe you want to do something that has to do with film, or maybe you want to do something that has to do with housing, things that we don't specialize in. For that reason, we want to make sure that you have like a well-rounded experience. And so we will be helping to find a mentor who you'll be able to meet with multiple times throughout the cohort program. And so you might be wondering what's involved if you do decide to join the cohort. It's going to look like a monthly meeting. Last year, they ranged from about an hour to an hour and a half. Those include the political education pieces. We may occasionally have guest speakers, and these are also the times when we'll be working together on your project proposals, figuring out, troubleshooting things, asking each other questions, and learning about some of the issues that are coming up. There are monthly check-ins, so those are shorter. They might even be just 15 minutes. That's just a time for you to meet with me or another staff member one-on-one, and we'll just be talking about what needs are coming up for you, other ways that NCAAT could support you. That's a bit of a shorter time commitment. There are the mentor meetings. So that is going to be determined based on what your needs are and who your mentor is. And maybe you'll be able to meet once a month. Maybe you won't want to meet that often. That'll be something determined between the two of you. We will also be looking for a brief team profile at the beginning of the cohort, which will probably just look like your project proposal, explaining who you are, what your idea is. Similarly, at the end of the program, we'll be expecting you to join us for a closing event where you'll be presenting back what you did in the last few months, where your idea is now, and then a project summary, which will be pretty much your presentation, but in a written or visual format, rather than just a speaking format. So throughout the project and towards the beginning, you don't necessarily have to complete your entire project, because ASAP is open not just to a new project that you have. Maybe it's an existing project that you have already started, but you need some help, maybe revamping, maybe or maybe it's something that is new and you want it to go on beyond the 5 months of the program. That's great. We love that. And so really, ideally at the beginning of the project or of the beginning of the program, we'll be sitting down together, writing out your goals and deliverables catered towards your project. And we'll be deciding on that basis, what it is that we hope to see by the end of the 5 months, but it doesn't necessarily mean project completion or project end by the 5 months. And yeah, hopefully by the end of the program, you will have a really comprehensive plan. Even if you haven't implemented it during that time, you'll at least have a place to start, and you'll have all the things that you need to go ahead and get going with it. So the application process, we've got a few steps here. I'm just going to show you the site. So this is going to be part 1 of your application. This has a lot of information I'm sharing with you now. This is just demographic information. Once you submit this, it's going to take you to a different page. So I'm just going to put a test in and then show you, because for your application to be complete, you need to you will need to, excuse me, lost my train of thought. For your application to be complete, you are going to need to complete both this page and the page that I'm about to show you. And so we'll just put all these in here, submit. No, thanks. Okay, it's going to take you here. This is your full application. You need to complete this and that last page that I showed you before your application is considered complete. Because of that, I recommend, rather than going straight into the form, I recommend actually going to review the application questions first. I've put them all here, right here at the bottom. I would read through this. I've put in project examples and ideas, and all the questions are here. So I really recommend going ahead, reading through the questions, reading through the considerations, and writing this out on your own time, on your own separate document. And so that when you are ready to submit the application, you can just copy and paste everything in. A couple things I want to highlight here. So you'll just be giving a general description of your project. And all these questions kind of align with the considerations that I will go over in a bit. So you'll see here too that we are hoping for you to share an expected budget. Again, this doesn't need to be fully fleshed out. It doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need the exact numbers or anything. This is just for us to get a general idea of how much time are you expecting to spend on this, and what kinds of things are you expecting to purchase? Kind of a ballpark estimate. I've also added a budget template here, so you don't have to create it yourself either. We've got an example that I will go over in more detail at the end. So yeah, really recommend y'all go through these questions before starting to fill out the application form. From there, these are the two parts that I just went over. And then we will be getting back to you. There will be a screening process. So we'll go through the way that we are running the screening process. We have a rubric based on the 4 considerations that I'll be going over briefly. And we'll have a committee who will go over your proposals. We'll take some of the top proposals and we'll do interviews. So that's an idea of what to look for. So you may be called for an interview once the screening team looks over everything based on these next pieces. So a few things, feasibility. We're looking to see if your project is sustainable. Sustainable as in, do you have the capacity right now, or are you maybe too busy to really run this project through? You'll notice that when I went over the things that ASAP will be offering, we offered planning support and resources, but not necessarily implementation support. And so let's say you need, let's say you need some volunteers to help with stuff on your project. We will give you access to, you can share with us what you need, and we'll be sharing this information out with our whole network. We'll try to connect you with the volunteers, but we won't actually be doing the tasks that you might have a volunteer do. I don't know if I said that very clearly, but yeah, we're helping with the planning, we're helping with the resources, but we won't necessarily help with the doing of the project. We can give advice, but that will be on you and your team. And I think that's something I didn't mention earlier. You don't have to apply as just an individual. This application is for a project as a whole. You can have whoever it is come and help you. And they can come to the meetings and everything like that. Impact is another one that we will be looking at. So what community is this helping? Who is this impacting, and how is it going to be helping them? Again, as I mentioned before, ASAP is coming from a place of wanting to support more horizontal, like mutual aid projects, more so than a top-down approach. We are definitely hoping for folks who are really in the community, know the needs, and are helping the folks around them more so than something where you're like coming into a community that maybe already has everything that they need. Maybe they already have a lot of access to resources. So we're looking for projects that are going to make an impact in a way that that community actively wants and needs, and is also a community that maybe doesn't have access to that resource at that time. Collaboration, so building on that community piece. What communities are you connecting with? Are you working with other organizations and groups? Do you already have a base somewhere? Are you hoping to maybe do outreach to what parts of the community are you planning to do outreach in, and how are you collaborating with them versus, maybe being in a silo and not being connected with the community, really looking for that grassroots like network kind of approach. And finally, alignment. So how does the proposal fit with NCAAT's mission and issue areas? You can find our mission on our website. The issue areas are, I think I listed them kind of at the beginning. This year, we are really looking at climate justice, health access, immigration, and democracy reform, as well as racial justice. That could include ethnic studies, that could include CRT, anything. And I think that while there are those specific issue areas, maybe you have a project that isn't exactly there, I still encourage you to apply, even if it doesn't fit firmly within any one of those issue areas, as long as it is in alignment with NCAAT's mission. Let's see. All right, so any questions? I just want to pause here. I know that I have a few other questions that folks have messaged into me, but I wanted to start with the folks in the room, see if there were any thoughts. All right, here we go. I see in the chat. Are we able to use funding to advance fundraising goals like hiring an intern with graphic design and crowdfunding experience? Is it okay that 2 of the 3 team members are not based in NC, even though all 3 of us continue to have strong connections to the MTD community and NC? Are we expected to share progress reports or a final report? Are we expected to have measurable project goals? Okay, I'll go through each of these. Are you able to use, thanks, Boom. Are we able to use funding to advance fundraising goals, like hiring somebody with the experience that's needed? Yes, absolutely. These funds, we're going to send them to you. You do with them what you will. Love it when we pay people for the work that they do. So definitely, if that's in your budget, use that for that. Is it okay that 2 of the 3 team members are not based in NC, even though all 3 of us continue to have strong connections to the Montagnard community in NC? Yes, that is fine. The meetings are going to be held virtually, so that should be okay. Really, the big thing is it having an impact with communities in North Carolina? Are we expected to share progress reports or a final report? So the final report is going to look like your closing presentation, which is going to be kind of an event, virtually live streamed, as well as kind of a project summary. It doesn't have to be styled as a very formal report necessarily, but we are looking for kind of a share back of how things went, where it's at now, where you're going. And we'll be helping you through that during the cohort program. We'll be kind of sharing back what's expected there. It doesn't have to be like a research paper or anything like that. Progress, in terms of progress reports, you'll just have those monthly check-ins. It's not something that is, how do I phrase it? It's not something that's like punitive, you know, like we're not going to be expecting you to come in with, I see that you mentioned something about measurable project goals. Yes, there will be measurable project goals that you will determine, and it'll be something that we're just kind of here as a support. So we'll be checking in and seeing, hey, how close, like, how is it going reaching your goals? And how can we support you in reaching them? But it's not so much like, oh, you didn't reach your goal this month. You're in trouble now. Punitive. It's not a punitive process. It's going to be more so we'll be checking in with you each month to see the progress so that we can see how we can continue to support you. I think those were all those questions. Anyone else have questions, or Foon, if you have any other questions? Oh, I see some connecting happening in the chat. That's great.
I wanted to ask a little bit about something like you did talk a little bit about like ethnic studies. Oh, cool. Yeah, so yeah, so like I've applied the past few times. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna say too much, but like something I was interested in is like getting NC State to have like I go to NC State. We don't have like an ethnic studies department. We don't have any classes on anything related to Asian American studies. Like we have like 2 classes on like Asian history, and that's like all of Asia. And it's like I've like looked into some on like what it might take to like get steps to go there, but I feel like that is like a lot, and I don't know if I have like the connection. I don't know, but I'm not sure if you've seen people. It might not even be related to like this thing in particular, so I can save this question for later if you want. But I guess like I think one thing that I like keep wanting to talk to NCAAT is just so like I can find people that might be interested in working on stuff together. I don't know. Sometimes it can be hard, especially during the pandemic, to find people that you know want to work on similar things. But I don't really know what I'm. I have a specific question, but yeah, if you have anything to say about like ethnic studies that you've seen happen, or I don't know, like advice.
Sure, yeah. I think it's definitely been in North Carolina, especially, definitely a process. I can't claim to be an expert in the ethnic studies
Oh,
realm. That said, NCAAT is always really excited to like connect folks with other folks. And so, and I'll connect this back to ASAP in a way of maybe you have a project idea and you don't have the team yet, or maybe you have a project idea and you want to connect with other folks about it, please let me know and I will send out an email to our base to see, who wants to connect with you and we can put y'all together. And maybe you'll form a project team. Something else as well is something that we do in the screening process is if we see a few projects that are maybe like, oh, I'm not super sure about this, or like, oh, I really want to do this, but I don't have people to work on this with, because that is one of the questions is, do you have a team? What's your capacity to complete this? Um, we have connected folks in the past of, hey, both of your proposals might work really well together. Would you like to connect in that way? So still encourage applying even if you're not 100% sure about your team yet. In terms of ethnic studies, again, I think that our youth team is probably a better fit to ask that about. So I will pass that on to them and have them reach out to you. But we are hoping to do some canvassing around that this year, do more resource sharing around that issue, because I know it has come up locally as well. Okay, I see in the chat, on a similar note, my team doesn't currently have anyone in mind for a mentor. How should we go about looking for one that suits our needs and interests? It'll be so finding your own mentor is not a requirement. I mean, we would love it if you came with some suggestions. But if you want to look for one, then again, we would love that. And the process that I would go through is internet digging, whether you have a professor or anyone in your life, maybe that is doing something similar. Maybe it's something, maybe it's someone that you've seen on Instagram that you want to check out, or maybe you have your specific subject. I would just Google around for it, look for research pages, look for different people on all these different platforms and see if there's anyone there that you feel like you could learn from. And let's say you kind of got your project figured out. You don't really need help with direction on any part of the maybe vision part, but maybe you're like, I don't know a ton about this part of my project. So maybe I'll go find someone who just helps with that part specifically. Let me try to find an example. Let's say you're doing a documentary and you're already got the film in mind. You've already got the like, what is it that I want to talk to people about? Generally, everything's good. But now you're like, I actually don't know how I'm going to get this out into the world. Maybe you're going to go find someone who knows how to publicize those things. They're not necessarily a filmmaker. They're not necessarily in on the issue, but maybe they know that specific piece that would help you on your project. So yeah, general professional development stuff, people that you just know you would be able to learn something from, even if it's not them helping you with these tangible pieces of your project, if that makes sense. Yeah, and when you submit something, if you don't have someone in mind in the end, that's okay. We'll go through that process and look for some folks as well. One of the questions will be, if you don't have a specific mentor in mind, what are some things that you're wanting to learn from somebody? And then we'll kind of come up with a list and share that back with you to see who you want to go with. Any other questions from anyone here? And if anyone is watching on the live stream, please feel free to drop things in the comments. I will be looking at that. I will go over a couple questions that I received before this Q&A came up. This is being recorded, so I'll be sharing this back with everyone. Let's see. First question. Project examples. Okay, so first I want to share what came up last year. Again, there have been a few changes to the program and we've gotten a little bit more, we've decided that we are going to prioritize ones that have to do with the issues at hand, but again, still apply if it's not the same, because I think there, again, there are ways to relate to our mission and everything like that. But project examples, last year we had one person who, and it's actually still in progress. The next one is on Saturday. Someone who did a taxes class for Asian folks. They prepared materials and curriculum, and they also were prepared to find in-language assistance for anyone who needed it to make this information more accessible to people. Another person did, I can use their names, Ellen Zhang did the tax class. We had the late Miriam Cho, who was doing a documentary about, like a mini documentary about Asian activists in North Carolina. She went and interviewed a bunch of different people. She was getting footage of all the different ways that people are active in their communities. Zulfia Tursunova, or Professor Zulfia Tursunova, she did a food storytelling collective. So she gathered a bunch of different community members. They all did a cooking lesson, and then they had discussions about how food related to their heritage, about war in different countries, and how that has led up to where we are today. It was a really great series. It's on our YouTube channel now. And finally, we had Cynthia and Yukiko, who did a book. It's a book that's got recipes, photo essays. They went and interviewed lots of people from different restaurants and establishments that were Asian owned in NC. So those are some. I want to go over some other examples. Let me find, here we go. This will be helpful to me. So at the end of this document that's linked on the ASAP page, I can speak a little bit more on these. I've mentioned mutual aid a little bit, and to speak more mutual aid, that is mutual aid as opposed to charity, where charity is, oh, those poor people, let me help those poor people, versus mutual aid being like, let me help the people around me, let me help, I am you, you are me, let's build a network and help each other. Reciprocal. And so mutual aid networks, maybe that's like building up a way to offer assistance to elders in your community and like building up a function for that. Maybe it's coming up with community safety alternatives. Maybe you do a teach-in, you've got some curriculum around something and you pop up at different places and teach people about a relevant issue. You could form a collective. We really love ways to support, again, offer tangible support, resources. Is it a food drive? Is it a session where you maybe are helping people fill out certain types of paperwork that will help them get financial aid or health access, things like that. Media for uplifting stories. There's all kinds of directions you can go with this. And again, maybe you already have a project in mind. And maybe this list can inspire you to find one. But we're really fairly open and really excited to see everyone's apps. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, if not, I'm just going to, anyone can share a question any time along the way. I'm just going to go into the budget. The questions that I was getting, a lot of them are around the budget, so I'm going to go into this first. So the last question on the application is asking for a loose budget. And again, doesn't have to be super specific. This is an example. So when you click into this link, you can just make a copy by hitting file, make a copy. If you want to do it that way, you can also just, and I've set an example here, but let me just show you really quickly the way that you'll be able to upload it. You can either share the budget by copy and pasting it, so you don't even need to use a spreadsheet. If you just want to type out I plan to spend this much on this much on this. That's fine. You just type it into the portal. If you want to use the budget template, make a copy and email it to me, or just add a link to it. So first thing I would love for folks to consider while they're applying is how much time do I have to work on this project? And how much am I hoping to like get from funds while working on this project? Because we want this to be accessible to folks so that maybe some of these funds you can allocate so that that's helping you cover your basic needs so that you can spend more time working on the project or something like that. That is a super valid way to spend this money. So put that there. That can include anyone who's on your team. You can do that by saying, I'll go to the example. This is an example for maybe you're doing a political education event series. I've allocated, maybe this team expects to spend about 5 hours a week. So for 5 hours a week, they want 1,500 per person. So they've budgeted that. Again, this is just an example. Do whatever feels right to you. This budget also covers, okay, I might expect to market or something in ballpark. I guess I would spend this much. Again, can be loose if you want to do some Googling or something like that. That's great. But you just make some estimates so that we can see what types of things and kind of how much you're expecting to spend. And maybe the budget goes higher than the 4,000, in which case part of our project plan will be figuring out how you can fundraise the rest without going out of pocket. Thanks so much, Food. We've accommodated for guest speakers. We've accommodated for paying somebody to help make the flyer. Gas, again, don't have to go into the tiny details, but this is maybe, I'm hoping you won't spend more than 15 minutes on doing this. Just brainstorm what you think you might need to spend money on and take a guess. Because we'll be going more into detail about that later on. This is just to give us an idea. If you already planned to, I'm gonna make something and sell it, then you can add that into your income if you have an estimate on how much you might make from that. Or maybe you're like, I'm planning to have a fundraiser and I'll make this much. Then you can also add that under here. This was all built out so that the formulas are there. Just make a copy and go for it. I think that covered most of the rest of the questions. The last question that I got was around, is there anything else besides the considerations that we are looking for and thinking about when looking at the proposals? Again, it's based on the rubric around the considerations. That said, I think some things I would think about are, I guess I kind of covered them during the considerations explanation. Anything else? Yeah, really just looking for folks who are going to be able to commit to those responsibilities that I shared earlier, projects that are really out in the community, and projects that folks really feel like they're going to be able to run through with. That is pretty much it. So thank you all for coming. Okay, I actually had one more question. Someone already had funding from another place to run their project. Can they still apply to ASAP if they've already got funding elsewhere? Apply, you can still apply. Part of that impact piece as a consideration is not just, or part of the alignment piece, part of the alignment piece is not just does your proposal fit with us, it's also how can we fit with you? Will our resources be of use to you? If you already are like pretty much fully funded, we might not be able to make as much of an impact on your project, right? Like we might not be able to help very much. And so we'd want to maybe find some project that we can really make an impact on and help with, versus maybe, yeah. So considering that while you're applying is also really important. Yeah, that's everything that I've got. If no one else has any questions, then I will just end here.